Imagine facing a cancer diagnosis where your doctor tells you, we have only one option, aggressive chemotherapy with brutal side effects, and the odds are not in your favor. For tens of thousands of women diagnosed every year with triple-negative breast cancer, or TNBC, this conversation isn't hypothetical. It's been their reality, until now. But what if the age of chemotherapy for these patients is closing, replaced by a smart drug that targets only the cancer, offering hope for more years of life and a better quality of it? Are we on the edge of a treatment revolution that will rewrite the global playbook for this deadliest form of breast cancer? Today, we're diving deep into the story of Trodelvy, a cutting-edge drug that's not just making headlines at world-class conferences, but is sparking a fierce debate among doctors, biotech giants, and regulators. Is Trodelvy the silver bullet for TNBC, or is there more complexity and risk than meets the eye? Let's break this down. First, what makes triple-negative breast cancer different and so terrifying? TNBC is the paradox of progress in oncology. While overall breast cancer survival has climbed for decades, TNBC remains a stubborn outlier. It strikes fast, spreads early, and doesn't respond to the hormonal or HER2-targeted drugs that transformed care for other breast cancers. In fact, just about 15% of all breast cancer cases worldwide are TNBC, but this subtype is responsible for a far higher share of relapses and deaths. The historic default? Chemotherapy. For decades, the protocol has sounded grimly familiar. Cycles of toxic drugs with severe side effects but limited, often temporary benefits. 5-year survival rates lag far behind other breast cancer types, and for patients with metastatic TNBC, where the cancer has spread, the median survival was less than a year. Every new treatment that chipped away even a little at these numbers made front-page news. It's no wonder, then, that pharmaceutical innovators have poured billions into searching for a better way. Enter antibody-drug conjugates, or ADCs, a new class of therapies that combine the sniper-like targeting of antibodies with the cancer-killing firepower of chemotherapy agents. Picture a guided missile, homing in only on the cancer cells and leaving healthy tissue relatively unscathed. The concept has tantalized scientists for years, but only recently have advances in molecular engineering and drug delivery started to turn theory into reality. Trodelvy, or sacituzumab govitecan, is the poster child of this promise. Developed by Immunomedics, now a Gilead company, Trodelvy takes aim at a protein called TROP2, abundantly present on the surface of TNBC cells. Attached to its antibody is SN38, a potent chemotherapy payload too toxic to deliver freely but devastating when precisely targeted. This approach is more than science fiction. The clinical evidence is mounting, and fast. In one of the most closely watched studies, the ASCENT trial, Trodelvy improved overall survival for patients with advanced TNBC who had exhausted other treatments. Median survival jumped to 11.3 months, up from the typical 5 to 7 months. But the real breakthrough is happening right now, as Trodelvy moves into the first-line setting, meaning it's being tested and, in some countries, approved as the very first treatment after diagnosis of metastatic TNBC. At the recent ASCO conference, Dr. Dietmar Berger, Gilead's chief medical officer, was almost jubilant. "We foresee broad first-line use of Trodelvy based on these results," he said, signaling to regulators in the oncology world that change is coming, quickly. But is the excitement justified? Let's look at the hard data. In the ASCENT-04 trial, Trodelvy, combined with immunotherapy agent Keytruda, pembrolizumab, delivered a median progression-free survival of 11.2 months compared to just 7.8 months for the standard Keytruda plus chemotherapy combo in PD-L1 positive patients. That's a 4-month extension, which in metastatic TNBC is nothing short of extraordinary. Dr. Sarah Tallaney of Dana-Farber called the results practice-changing, a phrase not often used lightly in oncology circles. Meanwhile, Dr. Sylvia Adams at NYU Langone said, "Sacituzumab govitecan has redefined the treatment landscape for metastatic TNBC." But let's not sugarcoat things. ADCs are not magic. They still carry risks. In fact, grade 3 or higher adverse events, meaning severe side effects, were seen in over half of patients in some trials. Neutropenia, or dangerously low white blood cell counts, hit 52% of Trodelvy patients. Diarrhea was significant in 12%. Managing these toxicities is a challenge that oncologists cannot ignore. Across the Atlantic, real-world studies in the UK have confirmed Trodelvy's utility. Median overall survival in advanced cases is 11.3 months, a far cry from past figures, but the disease still often beats science. And for every patient experiencing tumor shrinkage or disease stability, there are others for whom Trodelvy's benefits are more modest. Nevertheless, the momentum is hard to ignore. Over 50 countries have now approved Trodelvy for second-line or later treatment of metastatic TNBC. Drug regulators from the FDA to the EMA have moved quickly to speed access, often granting accelerated approval based on the unmet need. The urgency is palpable. But the battlefield is getting crowded. Pharmaceutical titans and biotech startups are racing to build on Trodelvy's model. In January 2025, Dato-DXd, a rival TROP2-directed ADC from Daiichi Sankyo and AstraZeneca, won FDA approval for another breast cancer subtype after showing its own promising results. Meanwhile, GSK, once considered an oncology laggard, is making a comeback with Blenrep, yet another ADC, after impressive trial outcomes. All this competition is fueling a global arms race to perfect and expand the ADC toolkit. New targets, better antibody engineering, smarter drug linker technologies, these are driving innovation at a breakneck pace. Industry experts like Hesham Abdullah of GSK say, strategic acquisitions and pipeline investment in ADCs are reshaping the future of oncology portfolios everywhere. But why does this matter to patients and to the global economy? Let's connect the dots. The stakes are massive. TNBC is disproportionately common and deadly among younger women and women of color, meaning years of lost productivity and devastating personal and societal costs. The World Health Organization estimates that breast cancer is now the most diagnosed cancer worldwide, and with TNBC accounting for a high number of recurrences and deaths, the ripple effect is enormous. To put it bluntly, the market is responding. Analysts see ADCs as a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, launching a gold rush in biotech investment, talent acquisition, and cross-border licensing deals. Companies are betting big that Trodelvy is just the beginning. Personalized medicine, powered by AI and molecular diagnostics, is upending how new drugs are designed, tested, and brought to market. Yet underneath the excitement lurk some gnawing questions. Can healthcare systems afford the skyrocketing costs of these new therapies? ADCs like Trodelvy are expensive, costing $11,000 to $13,000 per dose in the US, well beyond what most public health programs can shoulder without hard trade-offs. Patient access, especially in low and middle-income countries, remains uncertain. Are we at risk of creating a two-tiered world where only the wealthiest can benefit from the latest breakthroughs? And what about the science itself? Even as Trodelvy is lauded for practice-changing results, researchers warn of resistance, cancer outsmarting the drug over time. Off-target effects, immunogenicity, the body recognizing and fighting the antibody, and the ever-present threat of severe side effects must be addressed. The question isn't just will Trodelvy replace chemo, but for how long will it be effective, and for whom? Dr. Hope Rugo, a leading oncologist at UCSF, summed up the stakes. The promise of Trodelvy is not only in prolonging survival, but also in preserving the quality of life for patients who would otherwise have no good options. But we must be vigilant as new data emerges. No drug is perfect, and the cancer is always evolving. Pharma companies, too, are hedging their bets. Gilead's aggressive regulatory push is met by Daiichi Sankyo's and AstraZeneca's expansion into new ADCs, GSK's acquisition splurge, and Astellas's recent $130 million upfront payment for a novel ADC candidate. The message is clear: whoever dominates the ADC space will control not just markets, but lives. So, where are the weak links? The current generation of ADCs is still in the early innings. Adverse events, resistance mechanisms, and manufacturing complexity make scaling up and sustaining access a major challenge. And what about the legal and ethical dilemmas if these costly new drugs leave millions behind? This is the juncture at which Trodelvy, and the revolution it promises, stands. Will ADCs rewrite the story of triple-negative breast cancer, pushing chemotherapy into the history books? Or will hidden risks, resistance, and economic realities blunt their impact, keeping the old regime of toxic chemo alive for years longer? As the next wave of data and real-world results flood in, the world is watching. Have we finally found the weapon that can beat TNBC at its own game? Or are we merely entering a new arms race, one with different winners and perhaps new victims? Stick with us as we explore what's coming next. The race to make ADCs safer, more affordable, and accessible to all, and the battle to outsmart cancer's evolving defenses. Because the next chapter in the Trodelvy story will shape not just medicine, but the future of global healthcare. Now, let's look ahead. The momentum surrounding Trodelvy is undeniable. At the recent ASCO meeting, Gilead's chief medical officer, Dietmar Berger, called the latest results potentially practice-changing. Trodelvy's ability to extend progression-free survival, especially when combined with immunotherapy like Keytruda, is lighting up clinical discussions worldwide. But this wave of optimism is mixed with hard questions. Will these new therapies truly dethrone chemotherapy? Or are we witnessing another leap forward, with new obstacles waiting in the wings? Let's start by exploring what the next few years might look like for triple-negative breast cancer treatment. Experts believe that rapidly emerging antibody-drug conjugates, or ADCs, will compete fiercely, not only with traditional chemotherapy, but also among themselves. Already we've seen the FDA greenlight Dato-DXd for another subtype of breast cancer, heating up the race to develop the most effective, safest targeted drugs. In 2025, Astellas paid $130 million upfront for a next-generation ADC, and GSK is mounting a comeback with its own drug, Blenrep, after success in new trials. The industry is doubling down on precision medicine, signaling a shift from one-size-fits-all chemo to individualized molecular therapies. But for every step forward, there are practical and scientific hurdles. First, resistance. As awe-inspiring as Trodelvy's results are, cancer's ability to adapt is legendary. Initial data shows clear benefits, such as median progression-free survival rising from 7.8 to 11.2 months with Trodelvy plus Keytruda. But it is not a cure. Tumor cells can develop ways to expel or inactivate ADC payloads, or downregulate the surface proteins that these drugs target, like TROP2. As Dr. Hope Rugo says, the biggest challenge going forward will be understanding and stopping resistance before it takes hold. Second, safety. ADCs are designed to spare healthy cells, but adverse events are still common. The latest trials report grade 3 or higher neutropenia, a dangerous drop in white blood cells, in over half of patients treated with sacituzumab govitecan. Severe diarrhea and leukopenia are also concerns. We've come so far, but we're not immune from side effects, says Dr. Sylvia Adams, and patient quality of life must remain at the center of these advances. Third, accessibility and cost. Trodelvy is currently approved in over 50 countries, yet access remains uneven. Cutting-edge ADCs often carry six-figure price tags, putting them out of reach for many without robust insurance. As more ADCs hit the market, will competition drive prices down? Or will newer, fancier agents only deepen inequalities in care? That's still an open question, with enormous ethical stakes. And the horizon keeps shifting. The most exciting research is now focused on combination therapies, pairing ADCs with immunotherapy, like Trodelvy and Keytruda, which together showed a median PFS of 11.2 months in the ASCENT-04 trial, may become the new gold standard for many patients. Meanwhile, entirely novel ADCs, some targeting proteins beyond TROP2, are advancing in clinical trials. Astellas' acquisition and GSK's renewed push demonstrate just how hungry the field is for innovation. But the future isn't just about new drugs, it's about new strategies. Personalized medicine is accelerating. Soon, it may be routine for patients to undergo molecular profiling, guiding oncologists to select the right ADC or combination based on the unique biology of every tumor. Liquid biopsies, which detect tumor DNA in the blood, could catch resistance as it emerges, enabling rapid shifts in therapy before cancer can regain the upper hand. Artificial intelligence is joining the game, sifting through massive data sets to predict which patients will benefit most, and to design the next wave of ultra-precise ADCs. Imagine a future where chemotherapy is, for many, a fallback, not the default, where your treatment plan is crafted as carefully as a fingerprint, where the phrase triple negative no longer sounds like a sentence, but a challenge that medicine can meet with precision. It's a future that's not just possible, it's increasingly plausible. Yet, even with all this hope, there is hard reality. The path from clinical trial to real-world impact is never smooth. The latest UK real-world study found that median overall survival for metastatic triple-negative breast cancer, even with Trodelvy, was still only 11.3 months. In heavily pretreated populations, objective response rates hover around 27%. These are real gains, but the bar is high. Oncology is a marathon, not a sprint. So, what does all this mean for you, whether you're a patient, a family member, a healthcare professional, or just someone who cares about the future of medicine? There are vital lessons here. First, the importance of staying informed. The landscape is moving fast. If you or a loved one faces triple-negative breast cancer, know that the treatment toolkit is expanding. Where just 5 years ago the standard was almost exclusively harsh chemotherapy, now there is genuine choice. But choice demands knowledge. Ask your oncologist about clinical trials, new approvals, and your eligibility for targeted therapies. Second, advocate for access. As these drugs roll out, disparities will widen unless patients, physicians, and policymakers push for fair inclusion in coverage and availability. No one should be left behind as the science advances. If your healthcare system or insurer balks at the cost of next-generation therapy, know that patient advocacy groups can help. Your voice matters. Third, remember that medicine is increasingly personal. Genomic profiling, molecular testing, and AI-driven recommendations are no longer science fiction. If you have the chance, request comprehensive tumor profiling. The results might open doors to new treatments or clinical trials that could be life-extending, even life-saving. Fourth, weigh the risks and benefits. ADCs like Trodelvy aren't free of side effects. They may be less grueling than chemotherapy, but they still carry risks of serious, even life-threatening toxicities. Work with your care team to manage side effects proactively and to report any symptoms early. The quality of life improvements can be meaningful, but only if toxicities are watched and managed with vigilance. And for those drawn to science and innovation, there has never been a more exciting, nor a more urgent, time to contribute. The next leap could come from AI-driven molecule design, better delivery systems, or smarter combinations. If you're a researcher, a clinician, a policymaker, or a pharma innovator, your efforts are rewriting what's possible in oncology. As we wrap up, let's return to our original question. Can Trodelvy and its ADC peers truly overcome the resistance, safety, access, and affordability hurdles that limit the impact of chemotherapy? Or will chemo stay at the center of care, with new drugs only chipping away at the margins? The answer is both challenging and exhilarating. Today, chemo still saves and extends lives. For many, it's the backbone of treatment. But for the first time, it's being seriously challenged. Trodelvy has cracked open the door to a chemo-sparing era in triple-negative breast cancer. The rise of ADCs is inexorable. In the next decade, chemotherapy may well become a fallback, reserved for when smarter therapies fail or cancer finds new tricks. The real future is about integration, using the right tool for each patient in each moment. The more we learn, the more those tools will favor targeted, less toxic therapies. And here's a secret fact. Many drug developers believe that the ADC revolution isn't just about breast cancer. Already, antibody-drug conjugates are being trialed for lung cancer, bladder cancer, even some lymphomas. In 5 to 10 years, smart chemotherapies could become standard in dozens of tumor types, sparing millions the full brunt of chemo. The race is just beginning. So, what can you do now? Stay informed, ask questions, and advocate for yourself and your community. If you're a patient or a loved one, dig into the latest clinical data and trial opportunities with your care team. If you support cancer research, now is the time to push for smarter, more equitable access. Together, we can help ensure that the next patient benefits from everything science has to offer. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe for future updates on breakthrough cancer therapies, and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. Your story